Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I'm just sitting here drinking my morning coffee. Get ready to get my breakfast, do some squats. People are like, Jason, what are you going to eat for breakfast? I think I'm going to make an egg white omelet with a bunch of veggies in it. That's what I'm going to break my fast with here this morning. But, you know, I had a video that I watched yesterday. Someone I know linked it to me. I watched it, and then the guy who made the video came and posted in my training clip last night. And unfortunately, I had already seen his video, and I thought I would talk about it a bit because this is something that's come up, like this has actually somehow become a controversy of me making a totally provable statement with the whole Jeff Cavalier thing and the squat accessory thing. And I'm going to give you guys this guy because he's an example of someone who squats 700 pounds without a belt, who just squats. He squats every day, doesn't do any accessory movements or assistance movements for his squat. He just squats. High bar, no belt, 700 pounds, ass to grass. Also competes USAPL, which is the biggest drug-tested powerlifting federation in the U.S. That doesn't mean someone's drug-free, but, you know, they're at least drug-tested. Now, that being said, when I made a statement like that, it blows my mind the level of stupidity of several people out there on YouTube who really do not have the intellectual capacity to understand that when someone out there who's a voice of authority says the only way to do something is X, when I personally do Y, and saying that Y is impossible, but I've seen people who successfully do it both X and Y. For them to get up and use their credentials to say the other will not work and the only way to do this is X, in this case is to build your squat with accessory and assistance movements. Yet when we go look at elite powerlifters, you go look at any weight class, you go look at the top 5 lifters in raw powerlifting. I'm not talking about multiply, single ply, I'm not even talking about with wraps because that's not raw. It's always funny, these guys who compete with wraps or who squat with wraps, which best of luck with your knees over time, you know, they're the ones who always take offense to the methods that work really well for raw squatters. They just can't grasp it. But you look at them, and what do you see? You go look at the top 5 in every weight class, you're going to find examples of both people. The best of the best of the best. You're going to find people who do a ton of accessory and assistance work, who are in the top 5 for a record on a squat, and you're going to find people who do nothing but squat. And I mean nothing but back squat. Not box squats, not good mornings. Some of them don't even do pin squats or any of that stuff. A lot of them just barbell squat. That's it. Some world record holders do that. And yet people want to somehow argue that for you saying no, X isn't right, that they both have worked historically. There are dozens and dozens of examples of both, and I would say it's an even split. I would say it's just as many on both ends. In fact, I would say that the guys who do the accessory stuff, the only reason they're doing that is because it's tradition that came out of the equipped powerlifting world. Because you're right, equipped powerlifting, which is dying. Go to big meets, guys. Go to any meet with at least 100 people competing and tell me how many people compete equipped versus raw now. Equipped powerlifting is dying. It is dying. Raw powerlifting has grown enormously, and at one time equipped was the only game. That's all there was. Raw powerlifting has grown tremendously. And you find that people who only squat can be just as successful as guys who do all the accessory work when it comes to raw powerlifting. And this guy right here, he's an example of someone. He said, you know, I think there's merits to both arguments. Well, and the only thing I would take away from that is, no, I don't think there's merits to both arguments. Because he's saying me and other people, some people are saying you have to do accessories, and you got me saying it's optional. There's not merits to both arguments. My argument is the only one with merit in this. My argument is that both styles can work. Both styles produce champions. Both styles have produced world records. Right? That's my argument. The other argument is that only one of the two can work and that I'm wrong. No, I don't think the other argument has any merit at all. None. I don't think it does. Because I've watched guys hit elite numbers, insanely strong squatters using both methods. I think they both can work. I do think the latter is probably slightly better. Probably slightly better for most, not everyone, most people. who want to squat completely raw. I think it's probably better. In my opinion, probably better. Didn't say absolutely, but they can both work. So no, they're absolutely, the other argument doesn't hold water at all, that only one of the two works. That's provably false. Provably false. I'm sorry, there's too many world record holders that prove that false. So that being said, the guy who did this basically says, yeah, that's what I do. I've been squatting every day for several years, the last several years, and I can't really imagine a different way to train. He's like, the only other thing he does, sometimes he warms up his quads with some leg extensions as a warm-up. Squats 700 pounds. Pause benches 500 pounds. Deadlifts over 700 pounds. Now, a lot of people are going to look at that and go, well, I don't care because that guy's fat, or whatever they're going to say. You better look at the amount of size and strength that guy has. Okay, you can say the guy's fat. What would happen if he went on a diet for a year and he cut down to 12, 13% body fat? You don't think he'd be monstrous? You don't think that dude would be ultra jacked? Of course he would. Of course he would. But you can go see in his own words, and that's very much what I'm talking about. That's a perfect example that's not coming from me. Sorry, guys, my dog is going to bark because there's another dog barking outside. Just got to deal with it. Dog's barking at 6 a.m. I was hoping to beat some of that by, the noise outside by doing this early. But it's kind of the point, guys. That is the point. There's a guy who's done it. And there's nothing to do with me, nothing to do with my opinion. Perfect example saying that's what I do. I've been squatting heavy every day for the past few years, and I have a 700-pound beltless ass to grass high bar squat. Perfect example, guys. So when someone tells you that that doesn't work, you can't just come in and squat heavy every day and then program it a bit. You can't do that. It'll never work. You have to do all these accessories and assistance movements, or you'll never build a really strong squat. There's someone right there who's doing it himself, got the proof on camera. That's how he trained. It works. And that's the other thing, guys. It's not just bros. A lot of people say, well, that sounds like a bunch of bro stuff. Really, I think all the accessory stuff sounds like a bunch of bro stuff. Me personally. But you go look at what a lot of top coaches are programming. You go look at some of these Russian strength coaches. There's tons of them where they just have high volumes of squatting every week. High frequency, high volume, high intensity squatting. There are studies now. There are now people with PhDs in sports sciences who are doing studies on heavy squatting every day. And they're actually finding, guys, you actually get stronger. Already advanced lifters get stronger when they do this. All right, it's being studied. It's being looked at by people with credentials. Greg Nuckols working on his doctoral work right now in exercise science. He's written a whole manual on how to do this. Matt Perryman, same thing, has written a whole book on squatting every day with no accessories. He's also working on his PhD in exercise science. And by the way, Greg Nuckols has an elite squat on top of it. And that's what he built his elite squat doing. Raw. Drug tested. You guys see where I'm going with this? When people say this doesn't work or any absurdities, what do you mean? There are tons of examples, and it's actually being looked at further by the actual researchers in the field of exercise science. This is not bro science at this point. This is a proven, effective method used by several very, very well respected strength coaches around the world who do produce elite squatters and elite lifters. Now being looked at by research that is saying, hey, there seems to be something to this. So you can't stand there and say that it doesn't work and that the other way, the opposite approach, is the only way to do it. Clearly not. And anyone who can't grasp that fact is just being intellectually dishonest with you. They're being intellectually dishonest. They're in denial of the evidence. They're in denial of world champions. And they're in complete denial of what the research is starting to look at and find. It can actually be done both ways. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.